Now we're back at the Olive Convention Centre where the KZN ANC continues its elective conference. More than 1,600 delegates from the 11 regions in KwaZulu-Natal are expected to be there. They'll be electing new leadership for the province, and the decision of the ANC's largest voting bloc will have a direct impact on the national election in December. Our reporter Manqoba Mchunu is watching developments for us now and joins us this morning. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Manqoba. Quite festive in the venue this morning ahead of those voting proceedings getting underway. Just give us an update of exactly what it is we're expecting to happen and its conclusion today.
Well, certainly, Rofiwa, any moment from now we're expecting that conference to reopen, to start again for the second day of the proceedings here at the Olive Convention Centre. Of course, as you can hear, the delegates have started trickling in. I'm just going to ask my colleague, Nkanyi Somdalose, just to give you a sense of what's happening here. You can certainly tell that there's a lot of excitement here ahead of the voting that is expected to take place here today. Of course, it is an all-important vote that is taking place here today, the vote for the top 5 of the province that will lead this particular province for the next 5 years. And of course, one of the issues that will also be discussed is the issue around the policies of the ANC as we head to that national policy conference. Well, you can see some of the 11 regions of the ANC here in KwaZulu-Natal have already started arriving. We are told that the Herikwala, which is the third biggest region here in KwaZulu-Natal, has already arrived. There are also others that are still making their way into this particular venue. But it just tells you the mood here at this particular conference venue ahead of the voting. There's a lot of excitement, but of course we do know that it will be a tight race between those 4 contenders for the chair of the province. But just to speak further about the expectations and what we are expecting to see in terms of the election and where today will ultimately end up, we're going to be speaking to Umama La Uno Mafu, who is an NEC employee of the ANC here in KwaZulu-Natal. Mafu, thank you very much for your time, Mama. Let's just start here. Yesterday we did see some hiccups when it came to the starting of proceedings. What are we likely to see today? How do you expect things to run today?
Thank you very much, Manqoba, and good morning to the viewers at home. We are on the second day of the Provincial Conference of KwaZulu-Natal. You can see the jovial mood of the delegates. We left at 1 a.m. this morning, but one of the good things that even though there was hiccups in the starting of the conference, we slept having adopted the credentials, which is a very important milestone in any conference. When we convene now this morning, we will then deal with the issue of the nominations for the officials, which is the top 5 positions. And then so that we can then, whilst conference is continuing, we can start preparing for the ballot papers, the process of voting, and delegates can start to vote. That's the main thing. You can see delegates can't wait. Yesterday they were a bit late, today they were early, because they know that today for them is one of the big days.
And let's talk about that issue of credentials. How important and how significant is it that these credentials were adopted? We've seen in other conferences, it took hours, it took even days for these credentials. So how significant is it that they were actually adopted, especially here in KwaZulu-Natal?
Look, this was a big milestone for us as the members of the National Executive Committee that are deployed here. Because once you adopt credentials, it means the credibility of the conference cannot be questioned. One of the good things that has made the credentials to be adopted so early is the fact that regional secretaries were part of the process of making sure that the credentials are cleaned and are accepted. So it became easy that when we met at the steering committee and the regional secretaries confirmed the delegates from each of their regions, it became easy then when you come to plenary to adopt those credentials. I can tell you, Manqoba, for the first time in a long time, this conference has got 100% attendance. There is not one delegate that is absent. 100% attendance.
Well, I cannot ignore the song that they're currently singing here. We also heard this song being sung when Zuma, just before the TG addressed this particular meeting. Are you worried as the ANC that, there appears to be the singing of the song in support of the former president?
Not at all, not at all. Look, President Zuma is the leader of this organization, and of course, he comes from here, KwaZulu-Natal. It becomes natural that as everybody like us, that we might not have been happy on how things were handled in his case. The delegates here are simply expressing how they thought that it could have been handled better, the issue of the president. There's nothing untoward to this, and this is his province, and it's good to see that he has support from his own group.
In terms of disputes, there were 3 disputes that we had as the party coming into this elective conference, and of course we did see one of the wards, Ward 91 here, protesting yesterday over a dispute over the candidates in their particular branch. Are those resolved now? Can you say that there won't be any challenges in terms of disputes?
If there is, you can't 100% say there won't be any challenge, but one of the good things is that the fact that the credentials have been adopted, it means all disputes have been resolved. And that's one thing we are happy about. And the fact that out of this a conference like this, we're having about 1,607 voting delegates. For us to have even had only 3 delegates, that on its own is actually a victory. We've dealt with those, and we hope that the conference is going to run smooth. It's all systems go now.
There was talk yesterday from the speakers, the TG and acting General Secretary General, speaking about unity. How important is that in this conference, and do you foresee coming out of this conference united?
Look, unity and renewal for the African National Congress is an ongoing project. Wherever we are, at branch level, at regional level, at provincial level, at national level, we must always preach it. For us, the important thing is that here, the will of the delegates and the will of the branches must prevail. But after that, it is important that this province becomes united, because this province is one of the biggest provinces of the African National Congress. So if this province coughs, the entire ANC coughs. That's a reality. So it's important, therefore, that unity here becomes very paramount, because unity here will affect unity in the entire country.
And just finally, Mamafu, ahead, of course, of the policy conference that is taking place next week, there will be very important discussions that will be happening around policies in the ANC. What are you expecting from that?
Look, you've already heard yesterday, one of the big contentious issues that will be raised from the delegates from KwaZulu-Natal at that policy conference will be the step-aside issue. You've heard it. But besides that, we also want delegates to actually critique all the policies of the ANC, to look how far we've gone. Are we doing well in implementing them? We've got a lot of policies. We've got a policy on economy, which is sometimes called radical economic transformation. We've got a policy that must deal with the issue of the land. We've got a policy that we adopted there that must deal with the issues of the Reserve Bank and others. We need to look and say, have we been able to actually implement these policies? What were the hiccups? Because that policy conference must be able then to take recommendations that when we go to the national conference in December, we then take positions based on the recommendations that we would take at this policy conference. So it's a good milestone and a critical one.
Nokawe Mafu, thank you very much for your time. Well, that was Nokawe Mafu, who is the ANC convener here at this particular conference, just saying that they are in fact ready to proceed with the events of today. The crucial one, of course, is the voting that is going to take place here today. But it will start with the nomination of those candidates that will be vying for the top positions in this particular province. So far, we've heard of 4 slates here, and one of them is that of incumbent chairman or chairperson of the province, Sihle Zikalala, as well as the MEC for Finance, Nomusa Dube Ngube. There's also one of Sandy Zungu, a businessman here in KwaZulu-Natal. And of course, we also heard of a slate known as the Taliban. That is the one that wants to see Siboniso Duma, a former ANC youth league leader here in the province as the chairperson of that particular state. Well, it will be a tight race between these contenders as they will go head-to-head here at this particular conference. And of course, we're expecting those important discussions around policies in the ANC to take place after that process has been completed.